Let me build off some of what Nathaniel was saying that he didn't mention. Right now, I am getting crossover Democrats to vote for me. Some of them might be voting for Kamala, but they're going to vote for me down ballot because they don't like what's going on. A lot of Maloney voters on the east side are furious at Nadler. So they are willing to vote for me to get rid of Nadler. Some of them, I have two people that told me they want to vote for me, get rid of Nadler, then beat me 2 years from now. But that's a different story, but it gets me in office. But what Nathaniel was saying about Republicans not showing up, I call that, my terminology for that is Republicanitis. They just have this idea that they're going to lose. Especially in the city elections, we had a 24% turnout. Republicans turned out in less than 20%. So if they would have shown up in a 40%, we would probably have 10, 12, maybe 14 city council seats. We probably would have won the mayor's race. This is the ideas we have to get. And what's going on this year, too, it's a very, very unique time right now in the world and in this country. You have the crisis in Israel, the anti-Semitism that's going on in this country right now is spurring a lot of Democrats to say, hey, enough's enough, especially the Jews. The conservative Jews, I believe I'm going to win 70 to 80% of them. And in my district, that's 21% of the vote is Jewish, and about 40 to 45% are conservative Jews. That's going to double my vote total from 2 years ago. When you're talking to people, especially friends you have that hate Trump and everything else and how evil Republicans are, just remember back some of the conversations you're having, not about politics, about how pissed they are when they go into CVS and they got to wait for an assistant to come to unlock the toothpaste. So instead, when a few years ago, you walked in and you were out in 3 minutes. Now you're there for 15 minutes just trying to get simple stuff. Remind them of how good it was under Giuliani and Bloomberg and how it's declines from the last two mayors. Just remind them that. Don't say Republican or Democrat, just say how we have collapsed. And these start getting into people's minds. How people are afraid to get on the subway. How people, are when they don't even go out as much at night. For example, Ken, I can't remember his last name. He lives down in the 50s near 11th Avenue. He's 3 blocks from a migrant center. His whole building, which is over 3,000 people in it, don't go out at night because the migrants are on their courtyard, in their courtyard. Most of them are gang members. And this is what's going on all over the city. And the other thing people don't really understand, because a lot of people live in their own little bubble. I travel all over the place. I was on Spanish radio for 2.5 hours 2 weeks ago. I travel into Harlem and a lot of different neighborhoods. But I've done that all my life. A little bit of it's easy for me because I grew up in the military. I always grew up in a mixed community. They're turning on the Democrats. And that's why when I talk about Democrats, I talk about the progressive Democrats. Don't say liberal Democrats, say progressive. Because when people think progressive, they think AOC, Omar. So when in the old liberals, which I agree, the liberals that wanted free speech, They wanted civil rights. The progressives are trying to use government to keep us down. And this is how we start winning a lot of those crossover Democrats. Right now, according to the polls, 20 to 25% of all young black men under 40 are going to vote for Trump. You have Hispanics are at almost 50%. They're almost tied because they don't like what's going on. The Democrats continue talking about racism and all this stuff. And never mind, they actually lost the Asian vote. The Asian vote is going. This year, every single one of the Republican Asian candidates, their petitions were challenged by the Democrats. Most of them got kicked off. Why? Because they know the Asian vote is turning and turning big time. And part of it is what's going on with the anti-Semitism. This is one of the things I say. One of the reasons the progressives are going after the Asian in the Jewish community so hard is because they believe in hard work. They believe in education. They believe in family. They believe in helping each other within their community. Progressives want everybody to be dependent on the government. And these groups aren't dependent on the government. And that's why they have to collapse them so much. That's why they go after Christianity and everything else where, there's help within the community. They can't have that. Because if they have that, that means people are reliant. That's why when they shut down everything for COVID, so many small businesses were closed. When you think about it, a small business might have 2 or 3 people in their shop if they're lucky at one time. Yet, Walmart was open, Costco's was open, Target was open, where you can have 300, 400. Isn't there more of a chance of COVID spreading than if they were going to these little shops?
The famous Neptune diner story goes down.
Exactly. There's a lot of stores that are closed in this city because of that, because they want control. There's still people that are basically brainwashed because, they shut, and that was one of the scariest things about COVID that scared me was how they shut down anybody that disagreed. We're supposed to have the First Amendment. And social media, if you didn't believe, if you were saying something different than the CDC or the World Health Organization, even if you were a university doctor with all kinds of rewards, they shut them down. Just like Dr. Reich from Yale University. Not some small university, Yale University, who's an epidemiologist that won countless awards. He went against the CDC. They shut him down. Yale told him to stop, putting stuff out there. This is a problem, and too many people accepted it. We can win this thing. I believe I can win this. It's going to be it's an uphill battle. I believe I can win this district if we get enough people out. Like I said, I do have crossover votes, but we need to get the Republicans out because they're so, like I said, they have Republicanitis. If we get them out in force, I know we're overturning that we're getting more independents that are coming out than people are going to expect. And I believe the Democratic turnout's going to be lower than people think in this city because nobody's really that enthusiastic about Kamala, and they think they have it in the bag. Yeah, I don't need to go show up because she's up by 14 points. Thank the mainstream media for that because they're lying about it. It's in single digits.
What about the Gallup? Are they enthusiastic to vote for Nadler?
No, nobody's enthusiastic to vote for Nadler. Nobody. I don't even think Nadler's enthusiastic about voting for Nadler.
And even Ocasio-Cortez, I don't see the hoopla in the
Right, exactly. And people are starting to wake up. And they see, they're starting to see through a lot of the nonsense. This illegal immigration situation is waking up a lot of the poor people living in Niger. I have 6 large Niger complexes. They all are furious that the immigrants are getting, you know, almost $80,000 in benefits, and their apartment hasn't been fixed for a decade. You know, and the cost to this city, the programs that are being slashed. I work for the city. These are small little things you can start talking about. And going back to the progressives or the liberals, in saying, okay, I have a heart. Well, we have a heart too. Do you know that there's 320,000 children missing? That children and women have been raped by the cartels coming across the border. And this is coming from Amnesty International, not from right-wing stuff. So when you talk to people, just let them know what you know. If you know them, listen to them. What is their major issue? And then point some facts out. Just go ahead and say, yeah, I understand where you're coming from, but did you know this? Just throw it in there a little bit. The other thing is, anybody that can volunteer. I need people to be at the polling sites, because one of the things a lot of people don't understand, and a lot of political consultants don't understand, about 20% of every voter going to the polls have no clue who they're going to vote for on the bottom of the ticket. Oh, they know the president, the governor, the mayor, and probably the U.S. senator. But after that, they don't even know their names. Especially if you're going down to state assembly, city council, stuff like that. They have no clue who their representative is. So if we get them, even if we win half of the 20%, that could be enough to put people over. Maybe not me, but maybe the person running in the 73rd district right here. But no, it's 76th district. Nobody's running in the 73rd. All of a sudden, we have another state assemblyman because everybody came out and we voted for them. And like I said, and there's Democratic groups out there that are furious with the Democrats because they are more moderate, especially parents. If you have parents of small kids, they don't like what's going on in the school system with the trans issue. They don't like being, when their kid's coming back, hi, mommy, I don't know what I am. Or, diversity, oh, I'm white, I'm supposed to be upset because there was slavery in the past. To me, that's cruelty. When you are talking about elementary school kids and you're talking about environmental, trans, whatever it is, you are hurting these kids, because when their kids are that age, they are, the world's a great thing. I'm exploring everything. And now you have an elementary school teacher telling you, the world's going to die in 10 years. What did you just do to that kid? Maybe when they get into junior high school, then they have a little bit more life. But not at first, second, third, fourth graders. Enough with this stuff. That's what you tell the parents, and the parents know that. A couple years ago, I was riding in a taxi. It was a shared taxi. Would take me down to Water Street from 79th in York. $10, and we went down. There was 2 women. They saw my button, and they started talking to me. They said their kids were in 2nd grade. Both of the parents, the kids were in the same class. And, they had no problem against gay marriage. They had a teacher there that was, just got married. So at lunch, every day, they were doing, wedding ceremonies. All gay wedding ceremonies. And they were asking me what they could do. This is why I'm saying we can get into the parents, even if they're Democrats, and say, this is how we fix that. We stop teaching that at a certain age. But we can win this. And like I said, there's so many issues. You just have to listen to what their other issues are. I know some people don't like this, but another advantage I have, I am pro-choice up to the second trimester. I've won a number of votes because of that. Because women say, oh, okay, because I'm not a threat to them. And the thing is, New York state law, it's in the Constitution. So I'm not, somewhere in there, I haven't said it yet. But once it gets where the baby can live outside the womb, yeah, right, then the baby has rights. There's no way we should do a 9-month abortion as the baby's coming out. Yeah, absolutely. Right. Well, yeah, sure.
What you might want to emphasize too is people are misunderstanding the overturning of Roe versus Wade.
Right.
Actually, what it does is it takes the decision out of the courts and the feds back to the states.
Right.
Because a lot of people, like for example, you mentioned a lot of people who are horrified by the sentences.
Right.
Yeah. And 63%, well, yeah, we think Trump is much better on that issue.
Right.
Because Harris is for choice.
Right.
He's in, I won't love it. The thing is, you can say to these people, it doesn't matter what Trump thinks or what Harris thinks. It's up to the state legislature.
Right.
That's all it means.
Well, not only that, there's you look what happened in Ohio, and I believe it was Kansas. They overwhelmingly voted for against the state legislators and for abortion. So for pro-choice. So they put it out to the public to vote on it, and the public voted for it to keep it, even though the state legislatures was controlled by Republicans.
So it's back to the state.
Yeah, it's back to the citizens. Right.
Choosing Trump versus Harris.
No, I agree with you.
Because the president no longer matters.
Right, no, I agree. But the thing is, most people have been brainwashed by the mainstream media, by Harris, by every Democrat. They, fear-mongering. And we have to overcome that.
I like what was going to the liability walls, the BP candidate, passed a totally screw on Minnesota that even if the box abortion baby is alive,
Right.
doctors cannot assist that baby.
Well, I don't know. I don't know it off the top of my head, but if you want to hit people with that, you actually go and look up the exact, rule in the Minnesota abortion rule, and say, see section 231A, and it will tell you right here. Go to the Minnesota. It's in their code, and that will stun people too, because every time, for example, during the Trump debate and even the Vance debate, the media, the moderators went, "Oh, that's not true. That's not happened. Nobody does that." Well, here it is. It's written into the law. What can I say? It is possible, and if it's possible, it can be done. But the thing is, don't give up hope. Don't be afraid to talk. Prime example is I work for the New York City Department of Transportation. 80% of the people I work with are Democrats. And most of them are coming to me and say, I want you to win. I don't like what's going on in this country right now, too. Most of them are minorities. So this is the Republican problem. They don't go into these minority areas like they should. And I've been doing it all my political career since '92.
And they don't fund the candidates too. I know everyone else the same thing.
Yeah.
We have good Republicans, African Americans, and the youngest no one.
Well,
I'm from Long Island.
I know.
It happens a lot in times 10 across the country.
Right. Well, Nathaniel told me that most states actually help their candidates. They give them a little money or something. But New York doesn't. New York is, first of all, New York, the other thing I actually like primaries. because primaries actually drive up voter registration in the party, because when you have people, if you have two or three candidates running together, they're going out and registering people to make sure they vote for them. If you don't have primaries, you don't have that. Also, it prepares the candidates for the general election. Prime example of that is you go back to the 2000 election with President Bush. If you would have watched Bush in the first two or three debates, he wasn't that good. By the time he got through the 16th, he was sharp and everything else. Okay, that's sober.
If it wasn't for McCain, yeah, people said never would keep president.
But, and the thing is, they said, oh, Gore is so good at this. And when Bush won the first debate, all of a sudden, he was elevated to the same level as Gore. That's why he won. Gore was not expecting it, didn't do the stuff. So we have to stop being worried about that, register people. The other thing is, a lot of the younger Gen Z, Gen X, and everything else are turning away from the Democrats. They're not doing that. So if you have young kids, get them involved. We need to start emphasizing high schoolers and college people to be involved like the Democrats are. You call up a Democratic club at, say, NYU, you got 50 to 60 volunteers. We need people. You call up the Republican, you're lucky if you get one. It's true. I've spoken in front of NYU before. It's like there's a handful of there. And actually, the best example is when I spoke at John Jay. Had about 20 people, and they're all Republicans. And I asked them, how many of you were volunteering on a campaign anywhere? 3 people raised their hands. Out of a room of 20 were volunteering on a campaign. Well, actually, 1 was hired on a campaign. But so 2 technically volunteered on a campaign. We need to energize people. And we also have to tell people, it's not a right to vote. It's your responsibility. And so if it's a responsibility, people are going to be more apt to actually go out and vote. But, don't be afraid to talk to people. I'll tell you, when I first started running in this area in 2010 with the Republican line, I literally got spit on a number of times. I get hollered at now. More people are accepting of Republicans running because we are running. More people know my name because I've run a number of times. And that's what we need to do, because the other big problem, especially in New York, we don't have a bench. We don't have people that can just move in and start running for city council seats. And now it's even, we have campaign finance at the city and the state level. So if they raise 20 grand, they get 200 grand to run a campaign. So now people are on a more equal playing field. So let's not be scared to tell people, let's run. Try to find candidates, people that are interested. I have 2 interns that want to run in the future. So I'm helping them learn how to run a campaign as much as I can. And this is what we have to do. I'm going to open up to questions right now. Anybody have a question? Yes.
Also, I think people should not be afraid to campaign for somebody if you don't feel they'll win. The reason I say that is that I think it was in 1985, at one point, the Republican Party endorsed a Democrat. There was no Republican candidate.
Right.
Koch was a very good man, but the idea that Republicans might have lost the line if there had been no figure. So a woman named Diana McGrath ran. She didn't think she quit, but she wanted to hold the Republican line. She got only 11%. That's terrible. But by her holding that 11%, she organized the first campaign to run in Louisiana. She became a manager. She saved that spot to develop an organization for women. So you never know.
Well, I'll give you another example. this was one of my state Senate candidates. I had a friend. Well, I met him because I was running for office. He's a good friend now. He worked the polling site where he grew up. He grew up in the area. He lived in the area for 50 years. When we looked at the numbers, because he knew so many people coming to that polling site, I was within 5% in that district. If you go look at that ED where the polling site was, most of the time the Republicans are like 25% deficit. So because he knew so many people, he actually was able to get people to vote for me. That's also a reason why. You have a lot of friends that are Democrats, and if you're out there at the polling site, you talk to them, yeah, Mike's a great guy, or whoever the candidate is a great guy. You might not be able to convince them at the top level, but you will, because like I said earlier, 20% of the people don't even know who the down ballot people are.
Judges, we never run a judge, ever.
Well, I always write candidates' names in.
I run people I know in the area. That's
Yeah.
it. But also, don't forget, you say Democrats, assume they like the more to the left. Actually, New York,
Not all of them are,
New
yeah.
York has a history of actually the Democrat Party at one point was to the right of the Republican Party.
Oh, yeah.
You have a lot of holdover conservative Democrats. What they want to be assured of, you talk to somebody, some parts of Queens, they think Staten Island, and certain parts of town.
Right.
They feel that they're betrayed or they're cheated or something like that. So they tend to sometimes feel the Republican Party sold us out. We did love them.
Right.
But those people are conservative Democrats, and you have to convince them that in order to get liberal Democrats, you're not going to, abandon them.
Right. Well, the other thing is, too, if you look at the east side of Manhattan, they have voted for Republicans. For example, during even Giuliani won a good chunk of it. Bloomberg, one of his elections, he won 70% in most of the EDs. He went between 60 and 70% in most of the EDs on the east side. Loda, even though he lost the election, won a good chunk of them. And Melamatakis tied in this district. So there is a history on the east side of the district that they will cross party lines. So there are people that do it. It's less and less, but there are people that can do it.
Yeah, no, Congress
Like the tax, they have
one of the side
Right.
And then even I remember when I entered college, coming out of high school, that New York overwhelmingly went Clinton, but they voted in D'Amato the Senate.
Yeah.
Most troops came by.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
people split.
Well, they also put in Goodman for state senate. So
But you're right, that was the year. Altamont was like everybody's favorite.
Yeah. Right. So that's why I'm saying we need to get rid of this Republicanitis and start helping candidates going the other.
Democrats who put D'Amato and Giuliani
Absolutely.
and Molinari family and all that kind of stuff.
Right. Absolutely.
A lot of the people, even after Giuliani, would have preferred coming to the deal on the conservative line.
But anybody else have a question? Yes, Mark.
And not to disparage it, like I said, there was it's not a shame to just right now do a temp work and people in the office. They're always complaining about food bills, olive oil, things like that. Cost of can't find an apartment to live in. I mean, I can always interject, hey, if I come to some of the other candidates running in local elections or nearby, and just inject the idea.
Well,
Because they're not happy with it. Totally
no,
understand.
right. But this is the way you approach it. You're saying the biggest reason why you have inflation in any country, you can always go back, you can go back to ancient Rome, is because of government spending, overspending, borrowing more money and taking it out of the private sector. And going back to Rome, how they did it, even though they had gold coins, the new emperor would come in, he wants to build stuff, we don't have enough coinage. So he would melt down the coins, he would make them a little bit smaller, they would put nickel, other elements in it, But the people weren't stupid. So you would have to pay, 2 ducats to buy a bag of grain when you used to have to buy, you used to buy it with one. So the people weren't stupid. So even though, because they knew they had less gold, explain it to them that way. You're saying, and you can also blame Republicans on this too, because we've overspent. What got me into politics in '92 was the national debt, which was only $4 trillion at the time. It's now $35 trillion.
Yeah, they just got the debt clock.
Yeah. But the thing, but here's an example. I looked this up the other day. In 1992, a carton of eggs was 93 cents at 4 trillion. Now we're at 35 trillion, and a carton of eggs is 5, 6, 7, depending on where you're shopping. And even more depending on what type of eggs you're buying. Milk was like $2 a gallon. Now it's $6 a gallon. So this is how you get them.
Yeah,
This is why the inflation.
She made a comment about housing. I didn't see anything in your politics, but I saw it on one of my Instagram. This newscaster, Bianca Peters, had a real estate guy come in, and he's like, there are a lot of apartments out there that can be rented to middle-class people, and the landlords are just sitting on it. And Bianca says, yeah, you can rent these at a lower cost, but my friends and the landlords, we're just not renting them. Ever since the last 10 years, maybe going back to the Blasio and Adams and the city council, it costs so much more to maintain than the cost. The landlords would rather have an vacant apartment than pay the extra cost.
Well, yeah.
When I mentioned it to her, she's like, I'm like, there's got to be a way to have the city government. She's like, you mentioned it.
Well, it's not. But it's not just the city government; it's the state government too, because the state actually passes most of these rental regulations. But here's something else about the real estate industry. First of all, we're not a capitalist country anymore. No. I call it a financialism, because especially when you're talking about real estate, especially office buildings and everything, they are owned by REITs. Everybody borrows the money in trust, right? And what happens is, if they lower the rents, that means the value of that building comes down. So the landlords then have to kick in, say, $500,000 or $300 million, depending on the size of the building, to keep that REIT happy for the net asset value. And you look at it, we have derivatives and everything else. We are not in a actual capitalist, you build this widget, you sell it for this price, and the competition, I have to sell it for this price. We're not in that system anymore. It's all financialism, and it's warped our capitalist system. And yes, this is something I came up with. I was talking to Nathaniel at one time, and just looking at it, and we got to get away from some of this. This is what's going to cause our complete collapse. Our dollar is in trouble. We're borrowing way too much. We have the greatest tax receipts than this country's ever had. But we're still spending trillions more than we're bringing in.
And they definitely identified spending way too much GDP.
Yeah.
But their conclusion is, well, we can't stop spending, we're just going to have to pay more taxes. Yes, the very wealthy, the middle class will be crushed. And it's not just going to be income tax, it's going to be sales tax. It's going to be everything. Because I know if the federal and state government needs money, they can tax the rich people because it's middle class.
Well,
they need more of that money.
Here is one of the biggest lies about congestion pricing. They're saying, oh, we need congestion pricing to get more tax dollars, and without be dedicated there. New York State actually has 8 to 9 special taxes just for the MTA. That's not the problem. The problem is the MTA itself and how they do the construction, how they're managing things. Here's an example from my work. Yeah, it's a quasi-government.
They're almost like a monopoly.
They're not. No, they're not. Well, they are a monopoly, but they're not. They're a quasi-government agency. But here's the biggest thing. The governments, whether state, federal, or local, do not like doing design build. Design build means you have contractors bidding, and they're going to do from design till putting the final nail in the board to open the construction, whatever it is. And when you do that, you actually save money. It gets built in time. Right now, when I work for New York City's Department of Transportation, and we own two asphalt plants. One in Brooklyn, the Hamilton plant, and one in Queens, the Harper plant. We did design build for the Hamilton plant. We came in $7 million under budget, and it only took 18 months to build, from the time they designed it to build it. Harper, they wouldn't let us do it. So with Harper, it's already going to cost us 3 times as much as we originally planned it. It's been delayed, and they're talking 5-year build period. Because every contract has to be negotiated. Unions love that. The government loves it. The politicians love it because then they can give it to their favorite donors and stuff like that. But if you had a design build, you would save so much money, so much time, because the business is going like, I'm not going to give all this extra stuff because I want to make money. So it works. These are little things.
Why is that?
State Assembly and State Senate. They don't like it because they're in the pockets of the unions. And the unions like it because now you have to go. That's one of it. Also, delays because one contractor says, "Okay, I'm contract just to lay the tracks." Well, they're behind, so they can't build the stations. Who another contractor has. They don't care because it's another contractor. It's not our problem. Whereas if it's under design build in one contractor, they do care. They're going to make sure the tracks do what they have to make sure the tracks are laid in time so they can finish the station. Because it's going to cost them money. Whereas one contractor doesn't care if it's costing the other contractor money, doesn't care if it's delaying time. So you have one supervising contractor for everything, and that's why it goes smoother. Yes, Ted.
I'm going to agree and disagree with you
Okay.
on both sides. Design build has the advantage of having one general contractor.
Right.
But under design build, you've got multiple subcontractors, as you have in any other situation. Because if you have a general contractor and he needs electrical, and he doesn't do it, he's going to get an electrical contract. An RFP goes out to an electrical contract. And then there's a plumbing contract that goes out to here, and it goes out to here, and it goes out to here. The only advantage that I have seen, and I've worked with this in design build, is that you have one overall person that's responsible for it.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, myself, I'm a consultant. Okay, when the company hires me, they hire me for a specific job, and I may subcontract out to 10 different people.
Right.
But the client comes back to me and says, "What the hell is going on?"
Right. No, I understand.
So the advantageous point is that thing. On the other side of the coin, when you're not doing design build, you are now going out for an RFP to a architectural company to put together a building that we want.
Right.
Okay? Then you, the contractor, have to approve that building. Okay? That's after you have to put an RFP out to 3 or 4 architects.
Right.
To do that. So it's a consistent thing of RFPs. But I think away from the design build, I think on the opposite way of individual RFPs, you actually save money because you have people competing on every different issue. Okay, and you I believe what I've seen, you get a better product because if you have 4 architects that are bidding on this particular project, you have 4 distinct different designs and visions
Mhm.
that you bring back to the client. So design build is the one vision of that particular company that's coming back to the client.
Okay, I can understand that part, but because this is what I do on a regular basis, here's the other problem, especially in New York City. I'm not sure at state or other counties, but it's probably similar. Each contract we have for, like, say, we got to get a plumber, we got to get an electrician, we got to get all these different contracting companies. It takes so much effort to do those city contracts. Contract can be delayed and everything else. So, and if that contractor fails, now the whole thing is set back. Because now we have to go and redo the contract or go to the insurance company and says, okay, we need to do that. So we're going to be delayed 3-5 months. But the contractor, if it's a design build, can say, okay, this contractor failed. They can have a contract in the next week to take up where that contractor failed. Where it's not, the city can't do that. I can't say about other counties in the state, but I've seen this with my own eyes.
I'm aware of what you're saying. I'm aware of the failure in your insurance, come out of the insurance company, the failure to find all that stuff. I'm aware of that.
Right.
I can see that. I'm not so sure on the design build side that it's as clean cut as you just said.
Oh no, there is problems with it. I just see less problems, and you will cut down the building time, and because you have somebody that is overseeing. Because first of all, a lot of our engineers at design and construction don't do a great job.
I worked on both sides of the coin, so
Right.
both sides.
Right.
I mean, yes, it does have a problem.
Yeah. Like I said, speed, and I think it does reduce cost over the long run.
Correct.
And that's why I say, because, the Second Avenue extend subway, that was like 7 years overdue and 3 times the cost. If you would have had a design build, it still might have been over cost, but it wouldn't have taken 3 times the amount of time to build it, and it definitely would have been 3 times the cost. And then you only have, and if something did go wrong, you only have one contractor to go and do it. For example, because Como rushed it, so the Second Avenue subway, because he wanted it opened on January 1st. He rushed it. So the escalators weren't put in properly and a couple of
He
the
also
things.
used foreign companies.
Right. Well, that's,
Just on the second end subway situation, it was not one contractor for the entire subway.
no, that's what I'm saying.
Segmented that. You had block here, the block here, bid on A contract, the block here, bid on B, C, and D.
Right. No, I agree. And see, I have a problem with that. Yeah, it's because, yeah. But any other questions? Sure.
Observation. 26th
hmm
is the last day to register.
Right. So we have 2 days basically.
Website.
I should put. I don't, but I'll put it on my website.
People they don't have to register the party. They
Right.
can change their party later. If they want to vote and not register, that's the last day. They can do it. It's the first day of the vote.
Yep. Absolutely.
I was wondering too, like, I asked some people in my whole building. I haven't received any information. I believe it's not Board of Elections, but Campaign Finance Board, who is supposed to send out the information on candidates and competition candidates. I got nothing in the mail. And I asked my neighbors, he said the same thing.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure because.
I called up and there's no answer.
Yeah. Well, the Campaign Finance Board is a joke. They've been working from home forever, and they haven't come back. And right now, they're just basically trying to find people
Maybe so.
from last year's election. No, that's their whole
Well,
goal.
just like you said, like with people now going to be voting early on the 26th.
Right.
My early voting is very convenient, so I have to go on the 5th. But people now who want to vote on the 26th, I mean, you can go online and you get all this
Yeah.
information, but you're supposed to have this in your hand. This is supposed to come.
Well, the
from
Board of
your
Elections should have sent that out.
I
Where
know
you,
the Board of Elections, and they said it's the job of the campaign finance.
okay,
Okay, I'm just telling you what they told me.
all right. I don't know. Maybe the Campaign Finance Board and the State Board of Elections miscommunicated because the Campaign Finance Board has no authority over any campaign this year because it's only state and federal, whereas they only handle city elections.
But who sends out that paraphernalia when we get the mailbox?
Well, that's where I think the miscommunications is because now the state has campaign finance, just like the city. It's a different system and different ways you have to do it. So maybe they thought the state was going to do it, and so who knows what happened?
I guess it may
That's something I got to look at.
That's something because now if people want to go, they should at least they would have your name on the little forms where they usually list
Right.
everybody.
Yep.
Running to anyone.
Yep. Exactly. I agree. But
By the way, just as an observation, besides all the financial stuff, I can remember years ago when the transportation system was private, people didn't like that.
yeah, I know.
But anyway, let's see the one issue that I think that unites everything, none of the finance and that, is crime. Crime actually is where Republicans win. You
Mhm.
win in Staten Island, right-wing Democrats.
Mhm.
You win with some of the people on the Upper East Side, with the
Actually, Midtown's even more so.
Midtown, Upper West Side,
Yep.
Fulton Avenue, Brooklyn, where those are one thing about how liberal or conservative you are. I think it's the reason why even both Nixon and Reagan were elected.
Yep.
The riots and the crime. People know at least because you could use that even as an issue. Like you said, CBS.
Right.
Look at my Rite Aid clothes, Dwayne Reed clothes. Some of them actually close because of friends. That's another issue.
Right.
But basically, a lot of the places that went out of business, they'll say, well, this is what Democrats did.
Mm-hmm.
You like Democrats, you're very liberal, progressive. Do you want to live like this?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I was actually listening to the Post. They had an article about a black woman uptown who her business was trashed
Right.
during the BLM riots. And I remember her saying, this is my candy store. What do you mean Black Lives Matter?
Right.
This is my store. I would actually say this. Is this the way you want to live? I don't care what your issues are. That actually is the big winning issue. Every Democrat city, run by an Alan Gregg or Johnson, in Chicago, has a high crime rate. You want to be murdered? You want to live like that?
Mm-hmm.
That's really the defining.
In a poor education system.
Yeah, that's the uniting issue.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Okay.
You have a question? You've been sitting there quiet. Okay, not a problem. All right, let's finish the pizza, drink, intermingle. You got me. Ask questions anytime.